Okay. All set now? I'll call the Pownal Select Board to order, 7 o'clock, July 14th. For the agenda approval, minutes, warrants, mail, new business, RFPs for the roof building, old business, road crew position. Anybody got anything to add to the agenda?
I'd like to add personnel and go into executive session.
Personnel, executive session, okay. All right,
You have something, Jason?
so get a motion for the
Yes.
agenda? Or?
Yeah.
Can I be added, please, John?
Ellen?
Yes, sure.
Did you add me?
No.
Not
We didn't
yet.
hear you.
Yeah, I just heard that, yes. You can,
Oh,
so,
Do you want to give them a topic?
It's for treasurer and delinquent tax collector. I have a couple different items. Delinquent
That's-
tax billing.
that's under old business, correct?
You can put it under old business and new business. It doesn't matter.
All right,
It will all pretty much fall under old business.
okay.
Thank you.
All righty, get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The minutes, get a motion to approve them for last week.
So moved.
Second.
There's a correction on there though, that you gotta have, in case somebody reads it, I think. We had overlay on here for Jackson Cross.
Mm-hmm.
The distance was changed, right,
Yes,
Jason?
this is an error.
Yeah. I don't know what the new distance was, but this is the wrong number here, right?
Yes, it's wrong.
The 1350 was the one that,
No, down here, Jackson Cross
okay.
was the one that was wrong. Anyway, we're not, there's a different link for going on that. We
That's
had,
right. It was corrected and so noted. I
Before it
don't-
went to the paper.
Yes, it was.
okay, all right, well, let's just, it was corrected, all right. Okay. So, get a motion on the minutes?
You had it.
I had it, all
You
right.
had a second.
That's right. I made the mistake of mentioning the distance was wrong. Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Mail. We got a letter here from Vermont Economic Development Authority. And the undersigned Board of Selectmen, after a study of proposed project site, a review of municipal ordinances, and applicable land use plans, and a general study of the effects of the proposed project, submit the following findings. So, the proposed project will not violate existing zoning ordinances. The proposed project is an ordinance with a duly adopted municipal land use. The proposed project will not involve unusual cost to the community. The project is in the best interest of the community, and they want it signed. So I'll go ahead and sign it. If you're all happy with that. This is all to do with the same thing as cooperative action. This is all submitted by Bill Scully through the state of Vermont. Explains the cap and how they're moving along with it. That was the highlights of it. Now, we're going to have, be advised that on Saturday, July 30th, weather permitting, they're going to run the bloom test at up there on Tower Road. So that's going to replace the existing 98-foot tower with a monopole of 140 feet. The balloon test will be held from 7 to 1 and will consist of a floating helium balloon at the height of 140 feet. I presume this is in case there's people that want to object, that's where it's going to be. They'll be able to see it. It's 140 feet in the air. All right. And got a letter here from the highway foreman, Joel Burrington, and he's recommending hiring Jason Olansky for a road crew member. All references have been checked by him. No. And
Me.
No, it's Justin.
Justin,
what did I say?
you said Jason.
Oh, that's what it says here. Sorry.
Oh.
I read, I don't know the fellow. Justin, all right, Justin Olansky. Okay. So I guess we'll hire him when let's take a vote on that, I guess. We got enough here, so he meets all the qualifications. What do you think?
Did we discuss salary and all that?
Did we what?
Discuss his salary?
All
Hourly
this was
wage.
on the thing. It was all when well, Joel must have discussed it with him because we canceled the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Chris is the only person that met the qualifications. And it said in this letter from Joel there that he'd be ready to start. He has to give a notice. He'll be ready to start August 1st.
What's the procedure on checking references? Is it usually up to the road foreman or?
Well,
Can we do
usually
it?
somebody checks them. All he did was, well, I presume he just called him. And according to him, they gave high praise to the young fellow. And that was Dave Dents and
Yes, that's the procedure.
Monty at the fish.
David worked
He
for me.
must have worked at the fish
Road
hatchery.
foreman does it usually? Okay.
Okay, well, that's the
So do we
man.
need to vote on that? We only have 3 and do you have to?
I have to abstain.
Well, then we won't have to. Well, we got a quorum. He's gonna abstain. You guys still get 2 votes, you can.
All right,
So.
I'll make a motion to hire him.
Okay. Well, I'll second it, I guess. So he's abstaining from everything.
I guess we're all in favor.
So all in favor? It's you and I, so Jason will start on August 1st.
Justin.
Justin. Now I'm calling him Jason. Justin. All right. So now we got RFPs for the Roos building.
I think you skipped over the warrants, Ron.
Yes, you did.
Oh, I did?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ. Having a hard day. It's hot.
Can you make sure that somebody knows that he's got a lot, I don't know how you hired him, but there's a lot of paperwork to be filled out before he can start so that he can get paid properly.
Well, suppose,
And Lynn,
all I know is
do
hearsay.
understand that, but our administrative assistant is on vacation, and so we need to make sure the paperwork happens. I don't know, somebody needs to make sure that happens, that's all.
well, I spoke to him before when they were talking about it, and that was as earliest as they could start with his having fulfilled his obligations.
Exactly.
That's what she said.
I
I don't
but
know if she's-
paperwork wise,
That's what I'm talking about. Paperwork through the.
he has to give someone else a notice. He needs to give someone a 2-week notice. That's his obligation. Then whatever else we have to do for it. But what I'm saying is there's paperwork that needs to be filled out. So if you can
That's
make sure
right.
that
He's
someone
supposed to
gets
have
hold
his-
of me, thank
His
you.
paperwork in order. The same with Joel. Same thing.
It didn't happen. So I want to make sure that it happens with Justin, please. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess.
There's packets.
Anyway, back to the warrants. Accounts payable, $19,917.29. And the big ones there is Pownal Patrol, $2,415. And the salt shed retainage for $10,800. So, and payroll at $8,846.01. And so I need a motion, I guess. Motion to approve. Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There. There's your paid. All right, now we got the RFPs for the Roos building. So, we had 5 outfits submitted their bids. Redlow, Goldstone Architecture, Arnold and Skangus, Centerline Architects and Planners, and Line Sync. And, so, what do you want to do about that?
I'd like to
You
have
got
some,
the
I'd like to
town-
have some input from the committee.
That's right. So, that's what I want.
We met last night. We reviewed all 5 RFPs, and we came up with a unanimous recommendation that we go with Line Sync.
All right?
And we have, for your reading pleasure, the reasons why we went with Line Sync. I'll give them to you.
Okay. All right, well, they were the cheapest one. Yes. Anyway, on here. And they're the same outfit who designed this other
They're very
building,
same
right?
people.
Okay, well, so,
It's not
What do you
just the
say there?
cheapest, it's just, they were the lowest bid, but we also have a great working relationship with them, and they're well aware of what our goal is. We've had this since the beginning with them. So it's a little bit up and running before we break new people in to learn where we're going with something.
So I have a few questions since I'm
Go
a new
ahead.
kid on the block. I understand before I came on, you talked about doing an RFP for the Roos building. And help me understand, this is for whoever you choose to go in, check how much it would cost to make it feasible for the town to use it as a town hall before we, no?
They do a feasibility study and a cost on what a projection might be, but there would certainly be a lot more outside of that. Architectural drawings, in fact, once it gets to that stage, but it's to assess what's there. To see if it is feasible to do something with that structure, cost-wise. But it's a general cost, it's not there's no blueprints drawn or anything like that. That's another whole phase.
How much money have we already put into this?
You have it on record, I'm not positive.
You're talking about the roofs, or you're talking about
The whole project?
the whole project?
Sure, the whole project. And if you know
It
just the
started
roofs too.
many years ago.
Right,
Studies, probably a little over 100 grand.
yeah. Yeah, and how much have we put into the Roost project?
The roost,
Roost,
0.
you've got it right there, it's for the
zero
Yeah.
at this
Right in
point.
front of you.
Nothing yet. Well, these were suggestions that were put in.
That's
And-
for a study, that's not,
No.
We've put time, and some select board members have put time going through, but there's no fees involved with that.
And I think I'd also like to know, and I know Linda's not here, but I know we've put a lot of money into this building recently, and I'd like to know how much that is too.
It's over 40.
Over 40?
Well, that's what's anticipated. There's a little bit left to do.
There's,
We gotta-
if I can interrupt, there's 2 different, you've got 2 different questions, you've also got 2 different accounts that come out of.
Mm-hmm,
This is for office maintenance in this building,
mm-hmm.
and anything projected to the new town office is out of the office itself, the town office building fund. It's a separate balance.
Do we know how much is in that?
It's on that balance sheet.
140 in there?
yeah, something like that.
And it has new money added to it that you don't have on your
Okay.
sheet yet, but you will as
Okay.
Listed as a capital fund,
Okay.
right?
No, the
it's
the
not.
building
Okay.
fund, the
Building
municipal
fund.
building fund.
That's a
the
separate
municipal
fund
office
only.
building fund.
That way nothing can
We
be
budget
taken out
money
of
in
it.
that every year. I don't
Ju-
know where
just-
it is at this time.
Just to bring up to speed a little bit, our thoughts when looking at the Roos building, was we would have a number to work with, along with the number we have for the new building, and hopefully we'd be able to put it out to vote, and people would be able to vote on whether, on one of the two projects that we have.
Yeah, it was to get a consensus of, I mean, a lot of people have just asked, well, what, if that's the best we can do or whatever, and then this other project come up, or this other alternative, and so we were trying to figure out something. Well, I was after something. Is there a big difference here? If it's a big difference, and we're not, on both ways, both cases. I mean, if you're still getting, you're going with a new building and a refurbished building, or a fixed up building, whatever.
So we're not putting the cart before the horse. We have to do this in order to decide what we're going to do.
Yes.
Well, it's for the citizens want to know if there was maybe, I mean, the committee has beat that price down quite a bit. You got it down pretty good, but now.
The roost was recommended at the town meeting that we had. That's the only reason that came up. That was, somebody brought that up at that
They
meeting.
asked us to look into it, so.
Asked us to review it. And that's what we
And
moved
that's-
forward with.
And that's what's happened, and I think we're doing the proper thing there.
We've had several meetings. We've gone as a board and looked at the building with the owner. There's been another meeting when the state fire marshal came down, looked at the building. Not all of us were there, but a couple of us were, and the committee was there.
There is enough money in that fund to cover the cost that's in front of you to do the,
I don't know, to me, and nobody's gonna like this, but it just feel like we're throwing $8,000 in the garbage.
I do understand that. But there has been many citizens that have asked, they come to all of us and have asked for other options and then.
And when I was standing outside the polls, I can't tell you how many people came to me and said, we don't want a new town office.
And that's part of, that would be part of the vote down the road.
Okay,
That's
so
why
if we
we're-
have to do this
that's
before
why
we go
we're
to vote.
researching
One is
that.
what the actually the state mandates we have are two different things too.
Ronnie's,
A lot of the people
we
don't
got the
want
figure
a
down
town
around
office, but
700,000.
this is not functional.
Yeah, see, that's quite a ways from where it was before.
The 700,000. And that's with the information, you gotta remember, David looked at it. We had another contractor in town look at the costs.
Yeah.
With the information they were given, they both agreed that that was a reasonable figure, and they both said, however, this can be reduced more if we knew, if we had, drawings,
Yeah.
and we had, other material to work with. But that's where we stand right now.
And in order to get that, we have to pay for that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we bet you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jimmy's got his hand up over
Jimmy,
Hey, in the meantime, if someone walked into Mr. Chapman and said, I want to buy your building,
there. It's gone.
Oh, there's nothing stopping him from doing that.
Jimmy?
that's,
No,
Jimmy, you'd say
no,
sold.
that's up to the
absolutely,
that's
that's what
up
I'm
to the
saying.
select
right.
board to get to come to
That's
that
right.
decision.
You
not
need a
us.
saw on it, because you're getting out on a limb. Someone's
Absolutely.
All right,
Jimmy, when that went back in December of last year, we came before the board, we set this up, and it was an architect designed or voted to look at that building, do the RFP on it, and make a contract or some sort of commitment with Chapman to hold the building. And it never went through.
Yeah, I brought that up.
so that's why we've been doing that, is to answer quite a few questions. I guess there was a lot of questions. Of course, town meeting is not really a big cross-section of the town. There should be a lot more interest than there is at town meeting. You don't
but we
really-
had a special meeting just for this.
Yes, I
elected
know, but it
painting.
still was not really attended by a huge amount of people. Maybe that is the consensus of opinion, I don't know. But at least if they have something to digest, and a lot of people, all they keep saying is, we never had a chance to vote on nothing. Well, we'll give them a comparison. If we gotta spend another $8,000, we gotta spend another $8,000. I don't know what to say. If you don't wanna do that, well, then make a motion, we drop it in the trash can.
Is it your feeling that we should
Gone.
just stop this and not spend any more money on this whole process? Is that what, that's what I'm seeing or sort of hearing. I'm not sure what's your
I don't know
suggestion
the
on.
answers, I don't know all the answers, I just feel like we're throwing this money away, I just feel
I
like
agree.
it's throwing it away.
We get a handful of people involved, and we spent over 8 years getting rid of the inn. We spent a lot of money on that in time where we could have had a building actually up. If there wasn't so many people trying to save a building, it wouldn't have been feasible to save.
Mhm.
So
But
it's
I
a long
also
time
don't
to go
agree with a
forward.
$1.5 million building that's now down to 700,000. I think we could come up with something even cheaper than that. Stanford has a double wide on a slab. I mean, if we have to get out of here that fast, we could do it.
Can I speak as treasurer? Because I have spoken to the banks also, because I'm involved with all the different banks. They're always trying to get your money, et cetera. And they do a lot of financing of the town offices, and they wanted to know what we were building for $1 million for the size of the town that we are, because that's a lot of money. They know a lot of people, a lot of towns that build between 400,000 and 600,000, and they have a
Right.
beautiful town office.
Right.
Beautiful.
Right.
And they have more people than we
Right.
do. And they said if we needed some information to,
Right.
to
That's
do,
why I'd
you
like
know.
to see I know it's gonna cost money, but I'd like to see the plan for the 700,000. What does that include? What, do we have the parking? Do we have this? What's missing from there? Are we gonna have to go back later on and ask for more money for other things? This is stuff, I don't know. I'm asking.
Well, I think that's something we could talk about maybe in another time. But I think tonight, we need to concentrate on, we need the information to know what it's gonna cost to convert that building to a town office building. And in order to get that number to know, we have to have, this is the only way we know how to do it, is to have Lansing do it, or whoever's gonna.
Need a comparison so that people can finally give us a go-ahead on a direction, so we can get solid concrete to do something. So far, we've come up with more of a building, whether people like the cost or not, for efficiency, for size, for the future, than we've ever been. We're closer than we've ever been to the right building. And we keep getting stuck looking at other things and this and that to satisfy everybody that doesn't understand. You gotta forget the $1 million figure. You gotta look at the figure that's gonna cost you per year, per household. That's where it's at, because the $1 million.
I just want a
is
bottom
lot
line
of money.
figure for the taxpayers to
Right.
vote on.
But the bottom line is what you're gonna pay is yearly. And the difference between 700,000 and 800,000, it's gonna be coffee money. It's not, divided through the town.
Right.
It's a very small amount to cut a building down that would survive us years from now. This building is not only built for today, but it's built for the future. So there's expansion already built in the building. So if we needed more rooms, offices for health officer, a dog warden maybe later, a constable, or some sort of police efficiency, we'd have the building already there in the basement, ground level, accessible. Petitioned office there, there's no building involved. That's the future, putting this in with this, so we're not just building today, we're building out for tomorrow. And
I
the
think we're
buildings-
here tonight to deal with the RFPs. We've already been through all these other things numerous times, but that's
Yeah, I
your
got you
job
off on it
to
because
look
I
at the
asked
RFPs and
questions.
decide whether we want to move forward with the one that we presented.
Yeah, I wasn't on the board at the time, so I'm sorry.
No, we've had all this information out for the public, been numerous public meetings that we don't get a lot of attendance to, but we've been diligently doing our jobs and bringing information forward, and now it's time for you to take the next step with this particular
The thing
part of it.
I can't wrap my head around is, we're gonna do this RFP, then we're gonna take it to the vote of the town. When are we gonna do that? We can't do that till November or March? And
Well,
what
where
if
that
Chapman
goes is
sells
totally
it
up to
before
you
then?
guys, how you design,
Yeah.
how it's presented to the town again. That's not up to,
However we choose to
Yeah,
have it
that's
done.
not
I
up
think
to
it
us.
needs to go to a vote of the town.
Of course, right.
And that's what these RFPs are
Right.
for.
That's
Now,
what,
if
that's
that-
the
Exactly.
information we're gonna have to
It's a
go.
comparison. If we're gonna spend a whole bunch of money to redo a building and the prices are kind of compatible, it doesn't make sense to do that. That's what
it doesn't
what
make
this
sense
is
to invest
for.
in an old building.
But if you don't
can do a new
explain
one for
this
the
to
same value.
people, all they're gonna look at is, look, we could have bought the building. It wasn't ready, or it wasn't that's why you need this.
And how much does he want for the roost?
I think it was 300, 299 or something. I don't know, 295.
299, 295.
But I mean, how much is it gonna cost to make it into something? Frank just said we're down to around 700, and they claim there's still some changes that could bring that down lower. And if we're gonna get down to where it's pretty compatible, it doesn't make any, it's pretty simple, I think.
Yeah, it's
common
location
sense.
and
But
it's
you gotta
cost,
have
there's other
something
elements
to
involved
show
in this.
people.
But we don't have any, I didn't have, and we did not do these comparisons, these values on the new structure together. Two of contractors did it totally separate, based on the same information that you've been presented with. The drawings that were submitted and the information from the architects. And without specifications in architectural drawings, you cannot get it down to a precise dollar amount for building anything. It's all speculation before that, without drawing. And this RFP is going to help us move forward and decide where or have you help decide where we're going to go with this. Whether we want to get the drawings for the new building.
We gotta concentrate on one, not two.
Yeah,
We gotta break
where
it
we
down to one.
focused on one, whether it be the roof or
That's
the new
right.
structure.
Once we gotta get that comparison to
You've
start
gotta do
with,
it.
Well,
to
you
show
have-
us.
You have the opportunity to vote on it right now.
That's what we're dealing with
I'd
right
like to
now.
make the motion that we go with Line Sync to do the study on the Roos building, so we have a number, what it's gonna cost.
You got a second on that?
Not for me.
Not from you? All right, well, I'll have
you?
to second it, I guess. Any more discussion? Anybody else want to sell a different idea? I just want it so that we got something, and I've said it over and over and over again. All I want to do is have something to bring to tell the people what it is. Now look it. I'm sure that the people out there are smart enough to weigh it out. I really think they are. So and we got to spend a little bit more money to find out. We've spent some already. This is a big expense, this thing, but we've gone this far, and I think we ought to have that comparison and let the people decide. They're the ones that are going to pay for it. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed.
Okay. Well, that takes care of that.
We're all
Thank you
set.
very much.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be in touch.
Okay, thanks a lot, fellas. I'm sure we'll see you again. This thing ain't over with
No
yet.
question in my mind.
Frank Cornerstone.
Good, yourself?
Yeah, great job on that committee. David,
No.
great job.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess you're up, Ellen.
I'm up.
Well, yeah, we've done everything else. We've got a couple. Huh?
Okay,
We
so-
already got the
Okay, you
road
did-
crew
okay,
person.
you did
We're all
that.
set with that.
Do you mind sitting at the
Justin,
table just for
I
a
remember
minute,
that
please?
name now.
Thank you.
Justin? Too many J's.
Okay, so the first thing I'd like to discuss is the delinquent sewer billing. I received a distraught phone call from a delinquent payer and who didn't give me time to speak. So I just want to give a quick rundown on how it happens and what we do so that anybody that's watching this will understand the process of the delinquent billing, whether it's taxes or sewer. So I get the list as the delinquent collector, and I send everyone a bill. It doesn't matter if I know that the address is no longer valid. Everyone gets a bill every month. It doesn't matter if you run into somebody in the grocery store and you tell them that you are no longer, that you can't pay your bill this month, or that whether they're telling me or another town employee and they expect it to get back to me, because it doesn't. My number, I have 2 numbers on the bills. My cell phone number's on there. People need to call me and speak directly to me. I do have a lot of compassion. I was told I'm not compassionate with the delinquent payers. I am compassionate. I make out payment plans. calling me, screaming at me, and hanging up on me does not make me compassionate. It makes me angry. So you can't work with somebody when they're screaming at you. So if you're a delinquent payer and you need to speak to me, please just call my cell phone and speak to me, and we'll set up a payment. The bills sound
So you come back to the original.
non-compassionate, but they're a generic bill that many towns use. It's not a bill that I write up that says, I'm going to take your place and do all the. It's a generic bill. Everybody gets the same bill. So if you could just please call me and speak to me. Don't run into another town employee or a town official and tell them somewhere down the road and expect it to get back to me, because we don't see each other all the time. And nobody remembers, and it's not their job.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Is it
absolutely.
the same bill we used to have that says you've been served with a warrant?
Yes.
Everybody thinks that it says you've been served for a warrant, they're gonna come and arrest you and everything else.
Right. And
Ellen's
it's
been served with a warrant to collect the taxes. It's not that you're gonna go to jail.
exactly. And they get very, and they think that I'm very, and this one person was very upset because they're not well and they weren't able to pay part of their bill. I didn't tell them they had to pay it in full. They chose to send the payment in. They did with a nasty note on their thing, which they can do. I do save them in case down the road ever an issue comes up. Again, I just want to say that I don't expect other town employees or officials or townspeople to come to tell me somebody else's problem. I think it's up to the delinquent payer to contact me. The other thing I have to say is, with any money coming into the town of Pownal, if you write a check to the town of Pownal, I make deposits 2 to 3 times a week. I'm not going to tell you what days of the week, because that's not public. I go whenever I see fit, but I do delinquent deposits 2 to 3 times a week. Your check is never held as a delinquent payer. When you're paying sewer payments on a timely manner before they go delinquent, the person that does that, she does not hold the checks. Within a week's time, I get a deposit from her when she has a group of checks. Every now and then she gives me one check. So if she holds them for a week to get a group and then they come to me on a Monday, I go to the bank by Tuesday or Wednesday. So it might be held 7 days or so if you came at the beginning of the week. We can hold checks, I think, as delinquent, I can hold them, I think, 60 days, but we never do that. We try to get them in as timely as possible. We've been working on that in all areas of the town so that the checks now, we have less bounce checks due to everybody trying to get money into the treasurer in time so they can get into the bank. So that's that part. Any questions?
Can I ask a question? I know that, it's a little off from there, but I
That's
know
okay.
that we're trying to move forward in this board we're all trying to move forward with new policies, new procedures, make sure everything's going forward. Have we checked into doing debit cards and credit cards? Is it possible for us to do that? Or can
I
we
choose
check
not
into
to.
it? You choose not to.
I choose not to.
Can
I
I
think
ask
that's a
why?
wise choice.
Because it's extra paperwork and we're a small town and I don't feel we need to do that. There's a couple small towns that do it. Mostly it's the larger towns that do that. It's not something I wish to take on at this time. I've talked to the banks a couple times. Down the road I may, but
Okay.
right now I am not taking that on.
Okay.
Okay. It's a process to set up. There's a small fee.
Right.
But I choose not to at this time.
Okay.
We take credit card checks. I know people want their points or whatever, and that's but that's not always guaranteeing that just because it goes on a credit card or runs through a debit card doesn't mean that doesn't mean you still get your money. It doesn't always clear. It will bounce back, and then that's more money. So there's process. I've been to a couple seminars on that.
Okay.
Okay. Something. So today, I was in need of some office supplies. And I usually ask the town clerk or someone in the back office when they're ordering. I found out the town clerk was ordering. I gave her a list. She is no longer able to order. the password has been changed. Has there been a policy made that we no longer can order our own supplies through Staples, through the board? Because we don't spend thousands of dollars. When I need supplies, sometimes I need them like within a few days, because Staples mails their stuff right out. It's my understanding that the only person, and I don't know if this is correct, but this is what I was told, is the administrative assistant has the password.
I got
She
a
had
Can I ask,
changed it.
yeah, I've got a question on it too, go ahead.
And we have to stay within our
What was it?
means.
How was our policy before? Did we have a policy? About getting supplies?
Who
I
does the
noticed-
ordering?
There is a policy. If you're gonna spend $1,000, if you're gonna buy $1,000 item, we're supposed to come to the board.
Okay.
If we're buying a couple hundred, because we had to set that at, the board, a previous board set that $1,000, because when we order ink cartridges for our printers and our copier, they are very expensive. So if we need to order 2 ink cartridges and two boxes of printer paper, or usually we order, what, 6 or 8?
Granted.
You've hit that number, but it's more than, that's multiple items, it's not one item.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a written policy on this?
There was, it should be in a book, and the administrative assistant has all policies in a book.
Okay.
Okay, so there is no reason why we are not able to order our own supplies. I don't personally, because I always piggyback somebody else's order.
So any of you can order at any time?
It usually is assistant clerk, town clerk, and I know that the administrative assistant, I don't know about the listers if they order their own or if they piggyback and go through the administrative assistant or not. I don't have that answer because I'm not them.
And an assistant clerk and the town clerk were not able to order because
No, they
they
were
couldn't
not,
put their
because,
password in?
because the password was changed and no notification to any of us. And I do know that at the end of the fiscal year, when it comes June, if we have money in our budget and we so wish, we sometimes grab a couple extra things of postage or the extra supplies. As long as we don't go over our budget, that's our budget to spend for supplies. And we have never been told we can't, I mean, that's what you guys put the budget in for, so it starts you out the next year. And then they don't need anything for a while. I have an issue not being able to get supplies when I need it. When the administrative assistant is on vacation, we do not have access to the Staples card because she does hold it, which is fine, because somebody has to hold it, and she should be the one that holds it. I have no problem with that, but we should be able to order online. You guys look at the warrants. You see what's spent. If someone was to overstep their bounds, you can
Is
take
there-
care of that.
I know everybody does ordering differently. I know I do the Staples order in my office. And Staples is pretty good about ordering at noon one day and you have it the next day.
That's my point.
And if you can't have it, is there any reason why if you had an emergency today, did you need something that had to be here today?
I didn't have to have it today, but the point was I need this stuff, and our administrative assistant is on vacation.
Can you go to
And-
Staples and purchase it?
I don't have the card.
If you pay, when you get it.
If I want to pay,
If you want to pay and get reimbursed?
yeah.
Okay.
And I don't choose to do that. I have a list. I put together a list. I shouldn't have to do that. Nor should the town clerk or anybody else in this office when we need things. All of a sudden, I mean, this isn't something, if you guys had voted on it and there's a policy in place, then so be it, but we should have been notified.
Right.
So I'm coming to you as the treasurer and the delinquent tax collector that needs supplies, and I cannot get them
Right.
because we do not have access to Staples at this time.
Right.
And I would like to know why.
Did anybody call Linda? I know she's on vacation. but I know she's been coming
no, we
in.
are not calling.
Nobody has called her. Okay.
Nope. If you guys wish to do so, that is up to you, but I would like somebody to get us the password so we can order, because if you haven't done a policy, then the policy stands that's in place, and I would like access to order my supplies.
Well, my thoughts on that whole thing is, we should have, if we do have a policy, we should refresh ourselves with it and find out who is allowed to, if everybody can get their own stuff, and the password is everybody in the building, well then, there's no reason why it shouldn't be that way, if that's what it is. If it's not that way, well then.
But it has always been
but
that
I mean,
way.
I haven't read.
There's other,
I worked on a lot of them policies, but I didn't work on that one. I
well,
worked on the ones when Steve was chairman and.
I'm just
and stuff
letting
like
you
that.
know that
And I'm a policy guy, I'm all for that.
I have no problem with
If there's
policy
something
either,
wrong-
but I
if
need
it's in black
supplies
and
and,
white, that's what we follow, it don't matter if it's you or him or him, it don't matter. But I don't know what the policy is.
fund balance. New hire, record retention, conflict of interest. Road and bridges. And it should be in here. And the reason why I know this is because someone did order a large item and it fell under the policy because there was a lot of issues. Delinquent tax collector, refund payments, fixed assets. And if it's not in here, you will have to speak to the administrative assistant and ask her where it is, because she did have to use it at one point in time. I mean, you even have a passenger policy for your vehicles. We have a lot of policies.
We do. I know, I worked on a lot of them things.
Yeah? I don't see the one, and I didn't look it up because I didn't think I should have to look it up to purchase my items from, I don't see it right here right now. I was hoping to just pull it out of the
I'm
thing.
not- I'm
And
not
if it isn't in here, then I'd like to know where it is, because there is one. Okay.
I'm not doubting what anybody's saying, but you know, if we don't have something,
Listen,
it should.
I
be.
need to order some supplies, so I'd like to know if there is anybody else in this office that has the password besides our administrative assistant, so we can order some supplies while she's on vacation.
I have the password.
Okay, and I would like to know why then, and that is for future reference, because I already knew that. I don't ask questions I don't have the answer to.
That's fine. Would have been wonderful if you said something today, or somebody from the front office said, why can't we get into Staples? Because you would have had the password.
Why doesn't everybody have a password, Barbara?
Because Staples required the password to be changed Tuesday when I placed an order.
This past Tuesday.
This past Tuesday. And there's email substantiating that. They changed
So can
to
you
an
please give
8.
it to Ellen so
Sure.
she can order supplies tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And it was my understanding that the assistant clerk did come back, and she was told to put the list on Linda's desk.
It's up in her box. Both lists, your list and Karen's list.
Yeah, she
Yep.
was told to
But
put it up
nobody
there.
said what's going on with Staples. I don't know what,
You know what, guys?
You
You
know-
guys gotta get along.
you know.
I am
pass the
trying to
question.
get
I know,
along.
I'm not saying, I'm not pointing fingers,
What's
but you know
going on
what?
with Staples?
We're adults here, we're
Absolutely.
not.
We are.
So
high school
alls I need
kids.
is the password.
Fine.
Thank you. Okay, so that is that one. Now I'm going to go back to the road crew information.
Thank you.
Okay, I do want to make sure that that paperwork does end up happening, because the paperwork for Joel did not happen. I made sure that happened. Yes, he was our foreman was a, wasn't part-time, he was fill-in, or when we needed him to plow, or whatever that's called. I lost my train of thought, I'm so sorry. And so.
Private contractor.
No, he was not. He worked on our payroll. But he had only done it once this past year. So he needed updated paperwork. He needed his I-9, his W-4. I had no information on how to set him up for road foreman.
And how
If
do
he
you
did
usually
not,
acquire that information?
through the administrative assistant when someone is hired. And nothing was given to me, and I did email a couple board members, and it was forwarded to me. And again, when I get everybody's emails, everybody, I'll CC everybody. And, because that seems to be the way to get my information easier, and, so,
We as a board, Ellen, met, and I believe we sent you a copy of that sheet that we said that Joel does not start until all of his paperwork is complete.
I did
And
not
was
get that.
given to Joel, and that was given to Linda, and I think Jason emailed it to you after you asked for it.
After I
Right.
asked for it, correct. And Nelson did also.
Right.
But I was not given it until I asked.
Okay.
So what would have happened is, because I'm the one that sets up new people in the payroll, is he wouldn't have gotten paid because it wouldn't have been set up. And everybody in this office knows that I'm out of town every Tuesday, and there's no way I can set up that from where I am on
Right.
Tuesdays.
Right.
And everybody in the office does know that, because it made it very well known that I'm not available on Tuesdays right now. So I don't want that to happen. So
Right.
now I know that, so there must be some guideline that you hired our new road crew member for. And if I had a copy of that,
No, there is no guideline on that one.
there is
Yeah.
nothing.
Nothing right
Okay, so,
right now.
so he needs to make sure I get a W-4 and an I-9 and any other, I don't know if he's hired, because he's hired full-time, is he hired as, is he under a 60-day or a 30-day or a 90-day or a 6-month?
Ronnie, you spoke to Joel and Linda on it.
I mean, is
Where did
he
we leave
our
it?
new member? He's starting full-time and he's our new member? I'm asking this because that includes municipal retirement and health insurance and all that under the policy. It's stuff that we need to clarify.
I made it perfectly clear to everybody that listened that
Well, I
he
wasn't
was
here.
not gonna, well, you know what? A lot of times nobody listens anyway. But I made it perfectly clear that could not start until all the paperwork was in order.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not people take out do what they are instructed to do, I have no control over that. I don't stand here
Me
with a whip
either.
over people and things like that.
Me either. I'm
All I'm
just,
saying is, I said, and I'm pretty sure that
I'm
the other
just
selectmen
hovering to
knew
make sure.
that when we talked about that, I said, I don't want any hang-ups with the insurance. I don't want any hang-ups with any of that stuff.
Exactly.
Because he said, I want to start now and this and that. Well, I said, look you can't start until all the stuff is done.
Mm-hmm.
We make enough mistakes here without asking for some. And I don't want to get in the drama queen stuff. I don't want to get into that. I did make that statement very clear, and I'm pretty sure Jason and Suzanne heard me say that.
Yes.
And I know Nelson did.
We agreed
And
that you were
Henry
going
did.
to talk to Linda and tell her exactly that.
And that's right. And that was.
And that's fine.
So whether.
But
or
I
not
just want to
that
make
did
sure I
not-
get my
all right.
paperwork.
Well, okay, but I mean, you're
Aren't I
acting like-
supposed to come to the board if I don't get something and request it? I'm requesting it. I was here tonight, so I'm just following up on the conversation, Ronnie. You're getting upset at me for nothing, so please don't.
You're the one who came in here upset. So
I'm
you-
not upset. I'm actually
Come on,
handling
I
it
can
very
read
well.
people
All
better.
right.
So, besides that, I think,
We are aware,
That
Ellen,
covers
that there is
everything.
a bunch of personnel issues going on.
I'm not even worried about I'm just, the delinquent tax stuff I have to handle, the treasurer stuff I have to handle. I want to make sure stuff is done on my side.
Okay,
That's all I'm doing.
okay.
I am not doing anything that's incorrect, and I just want to make sure, and only because I was here for the road crew, am I that, I didn't even add to my list until I just wrote it on the agenda when you guys were talking about it, so I could make sure that I got my to verify that I get the paperwork I need
And
to
you
do my
mentioned
side.
earlier that you
And I'm
might start coming to all the meetings.
am
And I
going
think that's
to.
a great idea because I think things are getting lost in the shuffle.
I do think
you know.
so. I think when there's a question on budget and et cetera, I mean, we're in a new budget.
Right. And if there's something you
And we-
need from us, you need to tell us at the time that you need it.
Exactly.
Right. I'm willing to
Exactly.
work with you.
And
Willing
vice
to work with all
versa.
of you.
Me too. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, Carolyn.
We ain't got anything else here. You got something to say, Eugene? Or?
Yeah, did I miss public comment? Okay.
No, you can speak.
Okay. My name's Eugene Melville. I have a couple questions, and one of them concerns the budget, the highway budget. A couple meetings ago, you transferred money from the blacktop fund to the general fund to cover an over expenditure.
Not from the blacktop to the general.
Okay, what was that?
Nothing has ever changed from I'll answer this, I'm sorry, because
No,
I'm here.
this
Yeah,
is
you
why I
gotta come
want.
up to the table.
Yeah, come
so
on
it
up.
can be-
This is
Nothing
why I
is-
think it's great for you to be here at meetings.
Nothing is ever transferred. I can actually give you a copy of what we did. When the money came from, what the money was transferred from was the road fund, There's a blacktopping fund that has money in it. And because there was an over expenditure in the expenditure line, excuse me, Jean, in the expenditure line, we could transfer the money from the road fund into that as a designated fund and cover the over expenditure. It did not go into the general for anything. Nothing was transferred to the general. In the general, I did some transfers between expense lines and from some funds into some over expenditure fund accounting, but nothing between the two, road and general. Not at all. I have all the backup paperwork and everything, which I can't
Okay.
get to right now, Jean, because it's locked
Okay.
in my file,
Okay.
but nothing was ever, and actually there should be a copy of that. I don't know if it's in the minutes or not, but all the stuff that I did request, everybody had a copy of, and that's what I worked off of.
So what was the over expenditure?
There, in what, blacktopping?
Well, no, you're saying you,
Whenever there's an over
Move the money.
expenditure, we do this every year,
right.
every June.
Right.
He's asking
Many.
what was the over expenditure?
There was many over expenditures. I don't know if that's in here.
Well, just, there, I saw that you read a handout. There wasn't any discussion on it. You all voted unanimously to transfer
Yes, right here.
the money. And, there's some question of what it
Well,
was
we did
and how
discuss it
much
a
it
couple of
was.
They did discuss some of it
Yes.
because some of it they didn't understand.
Right.
So there was money that went
Even called
from,
Ellen on it.
right here, from the contingency expense line in the road, comp, gravel product, and road administrative expense came from the contingency to cover those over expenditures in the amount of $30,950.
So that administrative cost that was in that budget was 20,000.
Was 1,800,
Okay, so in this year's budget, it's 20 though, right?
but this is expenses, that's not road administrative cost.
But in
It's
the budget,
it's a
there's a
different,
line
it's a different,
item.
yes. And it's 10,000, I think, in the 2017, and that's money that goes from the road to the general that helps cover any administrative, I don't know how to word that correctly, services, thank you, services that happen for the road from the people that are paid from the general.
Okay, so now administrative in the highway department. I mean, what
As
is
in-
that? Is that engineer work? Is that secretarial work? Is that legal work as far as the administrative terminology?
It's not legal, no, because we have a legal fund, et cetera,
Okay.
for anything that has to do with,
Okay, because what I'm looking for is some specific detail on what that administrative overrun was.
it wasn't overrun, it wasn't overspent.
Oh, I misunderstood. I
You
thought
did, that's
just
why
said-
I said to you, road administrative expenses
Right.
is $1,800. It's
And-
not 20,000, that's not
But-
the same line,
But
that's
my
a different
point is if-
line.
My point is, you're
That's a different
saying
line.
they exceeded $1,800 in administrative costs.
I don't know off the top of my head what that line, the line was overspent by a little under 1,800. I can do a detail on that to see what was charged against that. I don't do the charge lines.
What was the total shuffle of money?
I just told you, those three came from contingency for $30,950. And then there was some inner expense lines, because we can move it from one expense line in the road to another expense line in the
Okay.
road.
Okay.
Like vacations and wages, and I did from wages to the holiday line, because if we don't budget enough in the holidays, et cetera. Black topping seal is not part of
Right.
fund, it came from the road
I think some of it
crap.
was our gravel crushing.
And it's gravel crushing,
Some of
which
it
I
was
said that
purchasing
came,
sand.
gravel product came from contingency,
So even beyond what we budgeted for gravel, we exceeded that.
because we
I don't
paid
think-
out to have, but it came,
Came out of a fund.
some of it came from the fund, not the gravel product. The
sand-
gravel product can't come from the fund because it's a different,
Okay.
because it's not part of the fund. You can only certain things, when something is a designated fund, you can only take it from that designated fund for
Right.
that designated purpose.
Right, and gravel crushing is a line item, designated fund in the budget.
Gravel crushing fund, but not some of the product, et cetera. The way it's written and broken down is different. You would have to look at the expenditure report. You can't just throw number, you have to actually sit down and read to see what I did.
Sand, I know for sure sand was something that we didn't have budgeted for. And we had to purchase it last year.
Even with no winter, we overran on sand?
Nope, just purchasing the sand. We still have the sand, but we purchased it.
Okay, but isn't there a line item in the budget for the sand?
I don't believe there was, no. If there was, it was very little.
I think that came through the gravel product or something. Wasn't that part of the product? I don't know because, like I said, I don't run the AP, so I don't. It's up to the foreman to pick the lines to charge when he gets stuff and it's data
Right.
entered and.
What fund is taxed for it?
Right, unless it's specific. Blacktopping is blacktopping.
Right, right. So.
Wages are wages.
So, that money that was shuffled came from a blacktop reserve fund? Is
We
that what I
have
understand?
A fund is a fund. A fund is voted on. And when you have a fund and it has money in it.
Right.
So when you budget, our budget, say we put in 80,000 into the blacktopping fund for FY16, we put in 80,000.
Right.
Say we spent 160. The other 80,000 is gonna come from the reserve fund. Yes, there is money in a fund that rolls over.
Okay.
Those are the only monies, fund accounts are the only monies that can roll from one year to the next year.
Okay,
Every other expense line cannot roll over.
okay.
Okay, and that creates some undesignated funds, and that's where you get the give back to the taxpayer, or
Okay.
you get, you can vote, the board can vote to put some of it into a designated fund, or they can give it back to the taxpayer. It's their choice what they wish to do as a board with it.
Okay. I didn't mean to catch you off guard. but
That's okay.
Do we know the total that's in the reserve fund in the highway?
Right now, we're doing accruals for any other bills that have come in, and I can't just give you a total off the top of my head. No, I do
From
not.
last fiscal year?
No, I don't, because I'm doing
Right.
accruals through August 30th, and I
Right.
don't have a final total to give you until then.
Okay, all right.
Until
great.
after
All
that.
right. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
thank you. I didn't mean to
But
catch you off
if you
guard.
would
I
like one, remind me down the road,
Okay.
and I can get you that information.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I can anytime give you a running balance, but it's apt to change because of accruals and et cetera, wrapping up the
Sure.
end of a fiscal year.
I understand.
But I think to answer your question, we didn't take any money out of our blacktop.
To cover other
To cover
expenses,
this, right, to cover these.
to cover any other expenses, no.
It was taken out of a reserve fund
To cover,
the
right,
expenses.
to cover
Okay.
the, right.
And we don't know the total of money that was shuffled.
I do, I told you.
But
I
I believe it
did.
was 31,000 total?
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
there was
there-
31.
Okay, that's what you moved, 30 and some change.
Right.
Okay. And part of that was attributed to the administrative.
That was from the, that wasn't
Right.
from the funds. The fund accounting, what came from the blacktopping fund was $80,000. See, I remembered that
Right.
number. To the blacktopping expense fund, the line, from the designated blacktop
30,
came
which came to
80,000.
110.
Okay?
And that's where we got our 110 from.
Okay. Great.
Does that
All right.
make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
It's tricky sometimes to understand.
Well,
No, I'm
because
glad I
you gotta, right, because you have to distinguish, everybody gets confused with funds and expense lines. Because
Right.
expense lines are different than the funds. The funds are the only monies that can roll from one year to the next.
Right.
Okay, when we budget and we don't spend it, it rolls into the next year. If we
Okay.
overspend, it comes out of it.
Okay,
Okay?
okay. I just have a couple other questions on that don't pertain to.
Beautiful. So I can remove
Thank you
myself.
for your response.
You're welcome very much.
I'd like to know, what's the hourly rate for the road foreman?
19.
19?
Mm-hmm.
How many candidates, to my knowledge, you had 4 candidates with 30 years' experience applied for that job, right?
We had 7 candidates, but I don't know,
Okay.
I don't know how the
But you
total.
had the fella from Northwest Hill, the fella from South Stream, the fella from Shaftesbury, and myself.
Mhm.
Between us 4, I know that we all possess 30 years of highway construction experience, right? And that's how many you interviewed, 4 or 5?
Four. or
4.
5?
We didn't interview the guy from Shasbury.
Right.
All right.
We had 12 applications. From those
Right.
12, we narrowed them down to 4.
Right. Okay. Okay, that's
We
what I
chose
thought.
4 to interview.
Okay. Because I think this is important for the taxpayers to know this, okay?
Mhm.
Now, I've been told that the town clerk's husband was hired for the job.
That was on TV last week, yes.
Right, none of the applicants
That's true.
that I spoke with had been notified that the position had been filled. Okay? But one of the questions is about the interview process, okay? You hired the town clerk's husband, and he didn't even meet the minimum requirements of your advertisement in the paper of the 5-year construction. I guess I'd like to know is how can somebody with no experience at all get an interview and then end up with the job? When I went to the interview, they said the job was $50,000 a year. I have the ad with me. It says minimum 5 years experience in highway maintenance, extensive knowledge of construction, personnel management, purchasing supplies, develop and managing budgets, and project planning. And it's common knowledge that he didn't meet any of these criteria. Okay, so what I think, the taxpayers need to know here is that you chose this guy with no experience over 4 other candidates that had a lifetime in the industry, okay? So now, we've hired a guy with no experience who's supervising 2 road crew members that have 15 years experience. He's taken over a construction and highway maintenance budget of $850,000 approximately a year, and he's managing it, and he's the administrator of that budget, and he's never worked in the industry at all. So my question, and one of those is, Jason, to you, would the town of Bennington hire somebody with no experience in the industry, in the water department or highway department, and give them the road boss
The
job?
information that we were provided to all of us as a board, we took that information and we made the best decision we could with the information that was provided to us. He does have, and you know what, I don't think we have to sit here and explain, whether he has experience. No, we felt he did. And obviously there was information that supported that.
Well, I think, the taxpayers...
We all have a different opinion.
Sure,
Eugene,
but I
you know
mean-
that. I'm just saying, we
But he
made the
did
best
not meet-
decision we could with the information that was provided to us and the applications we had. How long, I think that's enough said. I really do.
But two businessmen who have run construction companies in town were turned down for the job. But my question to
I'm
you...
not gonna say they were turned down.
But my
I'm not
question-
gonna say they were
Right,
turned
that's
down.
not true.
That's not a fair
That's not
statement to
true.
make, okay?
Susan, would your
That's not true.
employer hire somebody with no experience to take over your department at the college?
It depends on the job.
No, the answer is no. No employer would hire somebody off the street with no experience and
What I'm
turn over
answering
a highway
is
crew to them
we didn't
and $1
turn down
million
two people.
budget and $1 million worth of equipment. I think that you've breached your fiduciary obligation to the taxpayers, okay? Because it's up to you to get the best candidate, the person with the most experience who's gonna be a leader. And I don't think you accomplished that. And I really don't have anything else to say. Just you hired a road foreman that has absolutely no experience, and you're paying them more than the people that have run the town highway department since March.
And you're entitled to your opinion.
Yes, and we thank
Well,
you for your opinion.
It's a fact through town, and that's what all the taxpayers are saying, that we didn't get our money's worth, that it's gonna cost us more to train somebody from the ground up and build this highway department over
Have you
than
had
take
any
over.
complaints?
Well, it's too early, I think, for any of that anyway. But still in all, I don't know where your numbers are, but that's less money than the guy you replaced. That 19. That's a fact.
Right, so
No.
Ron, now, you just said, you're paying him what a 20-year veteran got paid for running that department, and he came in off the street with no
That
experience.
is
No.
not what Ron
Is
said,
that
so
not-
we're paying him less.
Less.
I thought you said 19.
No, he's paying him
19, yeah,
less.
the other
Less.
guy was-
Well, your dad told me that Casey was getting 1996 an hour. That's what I was told during my interview, that Casey was getting 1996 an
I
hour.
don't know off the top of my head, because he was.
Yeah.
I wasn't told 1996.
Yeah, that's what I was told during my interview, when they were asking salary. But anyway, I just wanna voice my displeasure, and hopefully we won't waste any more taxpayers' money in the future, and we'll get the best candidates for these positions, and we'll get the best location for the town hall, and we'll get the best equipment out there, and we'll get the best time for our blacktop. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Can I just, I found that policy, so I'd like you guys to have a copy of it.
Okay.
For the $1,000, just so you know.
Did you make copies for all of us?
I
Okay.
did,
Thank
and I
you.
made one for you, Barb. Just, I mean, you know that already, but that, it
All right,
says
so
right
we're
there.
all set tomorrow. You'll have the password and you can
not a
order.
problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted you to
Would
have
you
a
let
copy.
Ellen and Ellen, would you let the front office know that they can also order?
Yes.
Okay, well, then we have something for executive session?
Yes, we do.
We do. I make a motion to move to executive session for personnel.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.